the regularly scheduled public meeting of January 20th, 2020 of the Township of Washington Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act of the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Roll call. Oh, we're going to pledge allegiance to the flag? Salute the flag.
Which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to have an invocation now.
Local.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Father Tom Norton, a person who's been around this area for many, many years. This is my first assignment as a priest here in Washington Township in 1963, long time ago. I'm honored tonight, and I did not expect to do an invocation on behalf of the mayor and council and on behalf of our 2 fine gentlemen on the formal occasion of their promotion. Rich Skinner, Chief Skinner, asked me if I would do this, so I'm very happy to be able to have some experience, and you know, I'm delighted. Not only welcome all of you here and join in prayer for the mayor and council, for our 2 chief and captain as well. Speaking of the Chiefs Association, I speak of it, I'm chaplain of the Bergen County Chiefs Association, and our president, the 3rd one down here, John, if you would raise your hand, is here with us tonight, the president of the Bergen County Chiefs Association, and also I'm chaplain of the conference and PBA Local 206. It's not about me, it's about these guys and you guys. So let us pray. We thank you, Lord, in your loving and divine providence that we come together tonight as friends of our 2 gentlemen, Richard and John. We ask you to bless them in their new assignments, their new roles, that they will reach out to others in this community and care for them as they've always done so over these years. We ask you also to bless our mayor, council members, and all persons up here on the dais who work together and hopefully will always work together for the betterment of this community. Bless them and protect them and guide them. We thank you, Lord, for life in all of its forms and for enabling us to be here tonight with your loving and divine providence on this very special occasion for Chief Skinner and Captain Calamari. Bless us and keep us in your love and care. Bless us in body, mind, and in spirit in all that we do, to the greater honor and glory of your holy name. Amen. Amen. And thank you very much.
Councilman Casio?
Here.
Councilman Cumming?
Here.
Councilman DeSena?
Here.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Here.
Council President Feeney?
Here. And now we're going to have I will let the record reflect in attendance Mayor Calamari, Township Administrator Tovo, Township Attorney Poller, Township CFO Coran, and Township Clerk Wachowski. And now I'm going to turn the meeting over to the mayor.
Thank you. It's with great pleasure that I announce these promotions for Chief Rich Skinner, Captain John Calamari. They have a long time in the department, and the selection committee had their work cut out for them. So I want to thank them. I know the 3 of them are here tonight. All 3 chiefs, you did a great job. I couldn't, appreciate the time you all put in on, the selection. You did it was a fair process, and It's my pleasure to announce that Chief Rich Skinner, Captain John Calamari, the promotions, and now we can go right into the oath of office.
Ron, if you didn't know it, the gentleman that stood up were former Marines. That was the Marine staff. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Director Cicchetti from the Police Department. I want to thank the council for allowing us to have this swearing-in ceremony tonight. Appreciate it. And congratulations, Council President
Thank you.
and new council person. I've known Rich and John since they were rookie patrolmen. And I'm very proud of watching them grow into this job for years. I've been with the department 50 years now, and it's coming to an end soon. So I just want to congratulate them. I want to thank my committee, retired Chief Hooper, and our administrator, retired Chief also, and myself. I want to thank the mayor. The mayor, because his brother was involved, told us, set up your committee, do your testing, and whoever you pick, I'm going to support no matter what. And that he stayed out of it until he had to sign the letter that I gave him to make the promotions. So I want to thank you, Mayor, for doing that. At this time, I want to congratulate all the people for coming out in this weather. It's kind of chilly out there. And thank the men for coming out and showing their support also. At this time, I would ask the mayor to come down for the swearing in and okay. Thought you ran away again. We'll do the captain first.
So we have two promotions tonight, but also we recently hired two SLEO 2s, Special Law Officer 2s. They do a lot of our traffic work. They're some of our youngest officers, and they've already been hired and sworn in, but the mayor felt it was appropriate for the public to meet them tonight, so we are going to swear in our two officers. We have Antonio Parisi and Robert Liscombe. So we're going to do them first. They can actually get sworn in together because they're of the same rank. Rob, you want your family to come up and hold the Bible?
I don't like this. I, Robert Luscombe. I'm sorry. Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Say it at the same time.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same and to the governments established in the United States
and to the government established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I do solemnly swear
and I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
Special Law Enforcement Officer
Special Law Enforcement Officer
in the Township of Washington,
in the Township of
in
Washington,
the County of Bergen,
in the County of Bergen,
in the State of New Jersey,
in the State of New Jersey,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, John Calamari,
I, John Calamari,
do solemnly swear
do
or affirm
solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I do solemnly swear
and that I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
and justly perform all the duties of
Captain of Police
in the Township of Washington,
in the Township of Washington,
in the County of Bergen,
in the County of Bergen,
in the State of New Jersey,
in the State of New Jersey,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Hey, Alex, you want to come up here too, buddy? Come on. So I'll tell you a little more about my friend Alex Hammer when John and I are going to say some thank yous at the end. But I wanted Alex to come up here with my family for the swearing in. So if Dad, Elaine, and Luke can come on up and hold the Bible.
I, Richard Skinner,
I, Richard Skinner,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I do solemnly swear
that I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform all the duties of
and justly perform all the duties of police
in the Township of
in the
Washington,
Township of
in
Washington,
the County of
in
Bergen,
the County of Bergen,
in the State of New Jersey,
in the State of New Jersey,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you.
Is this on? All right, I promise I'll be brief. Obviously, Captain is a tremendous honor. It's a privilege, and I'm humbled, by this rank and this opportunity. There are just a few words I want to say, and I want to start off with saying that there's a bigger honor and a privilege that I have every single day when I come to work, and that's working with this group of people right here. This is your Township Police Department. And these guys are phenomenal. They do themselves proud. They make us proud, and I'm honored to just be a part of them. I tell every new guy when they get hired that you're joining a family. And the Washington Township Police Department is a family. It's a tight-knit group, you know. We're a small department, but, you know, we're as tight as you can get. We laugh together, we cry together, we mourn together, we celebrate births together. You know, it's an extremely tight group, and we're very proud of that. So like I said, that's an honor that I can't overstate, understate, but it's just tremendous. There are a couple people that I do want to thank individually. Obviously, my family and friends who support me throughout my career. They've helped make this possible, but also, I've worked with some phenomenal police officers. Several of them are here today. Many of them are retired. They've shaped me. They've shaped my career. They've shaped the person that I've become, and they're tremendous people. There are three in particular that I would like to thank, two of whom unfortunately are not here. One is Washington Township Police Officer Robert LaBianca. When I was first hired, he was my first partner, and he taught me what it means to be a police officer, what it means to be a cop, and I'll always be proud of the experiences we had together. Second is Washington Township Sergeant Dave Mino. He was a special supervisor for me. He taught me that the important thing about being a supervisor is caring for the people that you're in charge of, that you supervise every day, and that's a tremendous lesson, a tremendous gift, and a tremendous asset. Unfortunately, he's not here today. Last is Washington Township Police Officer Drew Kraft, who's in the back right now. He taught me about the brotherhood and what it means to be loyal and dedicated and devoted to your fellow officers. That lesson is something I carried throughout my career. It's something that, as a supervisor, again, I've tried to embrace and espouse. So, like I said, I'd be quick. So now, you know, basically for the man of the hour. Rich and I, we first met in the hallway at Bergen Regional Medical Center. We were both, you know, officer wannabes. We were being sent for our physicals. And it was a tense moment. It was myself, Rich, and Sergeant Scherer. And that was back in 1993. And we were all there. It was a little tense. We were kind of, you know, sizing each other up and stuff. And I didn't know Rich. He didn't know me. But, of course, those of you that know Rich, he immediately broke the ice by cracking a few jokes and, you know, busting chops with the nurses and things like that. And he immediately broke the tension in the room, and kind of we all started becoming friends at that point. And that was where our friendship began. And it's been a phenomenal friendship. It's been a phenomenal partnership ever since. Rich and I have, you know, like I said, been partners. We've worked together. We've challenged each other. We've supported one another. We've both been better for the experience of our friendship and our partnership. It's built on loyalty and trust and honor and respect. So with that, I'd like to bring him up, hand him the mic, and say thank you, and I'm honored to have you as my friend and my chief.
Well, we did pass the medical, and we actually passed the psych, too, which worked out pretty well. I also want to keep it brief, but there are a lot of people I just need to thank, so I'm just going to kind of quickly thank a lot of people. Like John said, in our lives, there's always police officers that kind of shape our careers and where we're going to. So first and foremost, I want to thank the men and women of the Washington Township Police Department. We would not be here without them. They're the ones that, when John and I are home now on weekends relaxing, these ladies and gentlemen are out on nights, holidays, and weekends. When you're sleeping tonight, they're going to keep you safe. So how about another round of applause for the Washington Township Police Department, the men and women. I'd like to thank the Marine Corps Honor Guard who's here tonight. 3 of these gentlemen I personally served with. It's my proudest moment to have these guys stand with me here tonight. You know, Mario Monaco and his brother Dom, we served together. Stanley Zahn is also a retired police officer. It's kind of funny, when you get out of the Marine Corps, you're overqualified to be a janitor, a hitman, or a cop. We chose cop. It worked out pretty well. I do want to thank the Bergen County Pipes and Drums. I want to thank WCTV, because not only are they filming this tonight, but there's a TV in the other room, the overflow room. And then a few people. Our police academy instructor that John knows, Richie Vanderklut, is here tonight. That's the guy that trained us to be police officers, and I'm proud to see Rich here tonight. I do want to acknowledge Captain Roger Marr. Roger was my training officer when I got here. He's a Vietnam vet. He's the kind of guy that taught me how to be in charge. You know, you get to a scene, you got to take charge, and Roger was definitely a take charge kind of guy. Another guy sitting in the audience that I want to acknowledge is Don Comerford. Don taught me a lot about compassion. Don, remember dancing in Hilda Bepler's living room? I learned a lot about compassion that night, sir. So thank you. Father Tom Norton, I think Father Ray from OLGC is also here. Bergen County Chiefs Association, the president, Chief John Russo, is here. There's several chiefs in the room. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your support. Bergen County Chiefs Association is a great organization, and it's where we go to get information because we're all going through the same thing. I do want to thank the Blue Knights Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club. That's my motorcycle club in the back. You see them in the vests. I want to thank all my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. There's a couple other guys here that ride motorcycles, kind of my other motorcycle group. For the Furthest Traveled Award, Tim Hartzell right over there. You might better know him as Lefty. If you're in law enforcement and you think you made a sacrifice for this job, this guy made a very big sacrifice, Timmy. And thank you for being here tonight, brother. Drove all the way up from South Carolina. Of course, I want to thank the mayor and council. This wouldn't be possible with all you guys. I look forward to working with all of you. Some of you I've known through high school or baseball or since I've been a cop. Some of you I'm just getting to know, so thank you. And Mayor Pete Calamari, thank you very much. I do want to thank the selection committee that we went through. Again, that was our borough administrator, Robert Tovo, my retired chief, Chief Glenn Hooper, and also retired Chief Bill Cicchetti. They're the guys that put us through this selection process and the interview, and I want to thank them very much. I really need to thank John Calamari. John kind of summed up how our relationship's been. John and I have truly been partners, and we're going to continue to be partners running this police department. John and I do a lot together. We're gym partners. We go to the gym together. We socialize together. We do all that stuff. Easy, Tiny. So, again, you know, John and I started the academy 26 years ago along with Sergeant Roy Scherer, and we've been together ever since. John's kind of like a trusted advisor. John's kind of that behind-the-scenes guy, but I generally don't make a decision without running it past John. Again, I do want to thank, our police officers, and I thought it'd only be fitting that we're here on Martin Luther King night, so I did want to say to our department, Dr. King said a lot of wise things, but one thing that's short and just always stuck in my mind, he said, the time is always right to do what is right. And that's what we're going to do moving forward. We're going to do what is right. We're going to make this place even better than it is, and we're going to serve our residents, which leads me to, who I really want to thank are the residents of the Township of Washington. You entrust us to keep you safe. So to everybody that lives in town, thank you. I grew up here. It's a wonderful place, and I'm happy to serve as your chief. I do have some other associations I just want to give a shout out. Some of my former police officers from the DARE world are here, Junior Police Academy. Some of my friends from the Computer Crimes Task Force, which I worked on, and from the Rapid Deployment Force. Brothers and sisters from those units, thank you so much. And then, Chief Alex Hammer. So Alex was our 2017 chief for a day. Come here, buddy. So we learned that Alex was sick. He had cancer back in 2017. We immediately piled about 30 police officers and firefighters into Alex's living room, unbeknownst to his mom and dad, Chris and Adam Hammer. And that day, although Adam was sick and he had already started losing his hair, he smiled, he looked at his mom, and as he was opening present after present that we brought from the police and fire departments, he said, "Mom, this is the best Christmas ever." And I'll tell you something, something inside of me, I don't believe in premonitions or anything, but I knew that day that this kid was gonna be okay, and he is okay. Alex right now is in remission, and he's beating cancer. Alex Hammer. We've done everything with Alex now. We do toy drives with him. We get together. I want to thank Adam and Krista Hammer. Mima's back there too. I want to thank the Hammer family for letting me come on this journey with Alex and let me be a part of it. Thank you so much. It just makes me proud every day. Alex was our, I said, chief for a day, but he is our chief forever. So stand right there with the men and women, chief. Thank you. Almost done, I promise. Just a lot of people I wanted to thank. Okay. Just a big shout out, thank you to the Washington Township Fire and Ambulance Corps, all our first responders. And now it's time for me to thank my family. My sister Debbie and her husband Phil couldn't be here tonight. They're out in Oklahoma, but my sister is flying out next month for a family gathering. My brother Bob is here with his wife Karen. My nephews, Dylan and Brendan. Tyler couldn't be here tonight, he's got to work. But if you put those boys together with my son Luke, they're affectionately known as the Knuckleheads. I really need to thank my wife, Elena, and my son Luke. You know, when you're a police officer, especially when you're starting off, you miss a lot of birthday parties or you miss certain things. I was lucky enough to coach Luke in sports, in both baseball and football, so I didn't really miss a lot. But I do want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. My wife has the patience of a saint. They won't say it now, but these cops will tell you I'm probably not the easiest guy to always live with. I'm a little bit demanding. I expect some high standards, and these guys give it to me. But at home, Elena really is the boss, so there's nothing to worry about there. Just wanted to give you these, honey. And then last but not least, I just want to say a few words about my dad, Robert Skinner. Since my first memory, my dad has been my hero. My dad's a Jersey City firefighter, retired. He pinned my badge on the night that I became a police officer, and he retired about a year later. But in a 30-year career with the Jersey City Fire Department, my father never took a sick day. So that's something I think, ladies and gentlemen, we can aspire to. 30 years on the fire department, never had a sick day. There were days he missed work because of injuries that happened on the job, fell through a roof, blown out of a building, the kind of stuff you see on TV. I like to believe that everything I have in me comes from my dad. My dad's instilled a lot of good things in me. 30 years on the Jersey City Fire Department, went to the academy with Tom D'Amato, who's sitting right back there with his whole family. His sons are Paramus police officers, so it's just a life of service. Again, you know, my dad had all the accolades. In the 1980s, he was the most heavily decorated firefighter in Jersey City for about 3 or 4 years running. He was Burger King Fireman of the Year. We got a lot of free Whoppers for that one. Jersey City Firefighter of the Year. And probably the award, you know, my brother and I one day found tons of plaques and awards up in the attic in the house. And we said to my dad, why don't you put these out? And he said, no need to. I was just doing my job. But one award that I know my dad was probably the most proud of is their union, the FMBA, which is much like our PBA. Their union named an award after my father, and it was called the Brother Skinner Leadership Award and Brotherhood Award. So he was known for that, his work in the union too. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do the best I can as your chief. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the example of that gentleman right there. So thank you. I think that's going to conclude it for the evening. I will end by saying to John and Roy, I knew this was going to happen that first day we got in the car together, boys. Thank you. All right, I think what we'll do maybe is we'll take a recess. I know we got to dismiss the honor guard. Those poor guys got hemmed in there in the corner. Thank you, brothers. There are some people in the senior center. So if you go out this door and make a right, there's a big room in there, the senior center. This way, if we can clear this room out, anybody that wants to say hello, take pictures, spend a little time with your family members, we'll clear out, we'll go right into that room, and then we'll get on with the council meeting. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think they're going to take about a 10-minute break and then start the council meeting.
everybody's patience and that that was a lovely ceremony, and we're going to continue with the rest of the meeting. We're going to have mayor appointments for directors, appointment of Director of Finance, appointment of Director of Law, appointment of Director of Public Safety, appointment of Director of Recreation.
Thank you. To the Council President and the Council of the Township of Washington, please be advised that I am respectfully submitting the following citizens for the positions set forth below, subject to your advice and consent. Director of Finance, Robert D. Tovo, for term expiring December 31st, 2021. Director of Law, Kenneth Poller, term expiring December 31st, 2021. Director of Public Safety, James Giblin, term expiring December 31st, 2021. And Director of Recreation, Eamon Toomey, term expiring December 31st, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, these are two-year appointments?
They run concurrent to my term.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So resolution number 20134, appointment of Director of Finance, Robert Tovo. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio?
No.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
No.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
And Council President Feeney?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 20135, appointment of Director of Law, Kenneth Poller. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. Resolution number 20136, appointment of Director of Public Safety, James Giblin. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Roll call?
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. Resolution number 20137, appointment of Director of Recreation, Eamon Twani. Sorry if I,
Toomey.
Toomey, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Apologies. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. There are no minutes to be approved. I would like to make a motion to open the public discussion.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Public session is now open. Oh, I'd like to invite anyone from the public to come up and address the council. Actually, I'd like to have them address me, and then we'll take any questions, please.
It's been a while. Council President, and my name is Eamon Toomey. Address is 187 Devon Road. I'm actually the Director of Recreation. So I just wanted to talk about one of the things that I've heard, back and forth. We've had a lot of conversations about our background checks. So I've been working pretty closely with Bob and Pete and just discussing our options, right? I know that the ordinance says the fingerprinting, and that is honestly the biggest, call it stumbling block, right?
Yep.
With what we do for lacrosse, and I know in baseball too, they just use name, phone, date of birth, and social security number. So that's really, and I think, in my opinion, if we can change the ordinance just to follow that, we can do it all electronically. Literally, we could submit them all tonight, they'd be done within 3 days, in less than 72 hours. And then the best part is that all of the tracking of it, we don't have to hire somebody to do it, right? We can, whatever software company, there's 3 or 4 vendors out there. I know I talked to Gary in Westwood, they use, and they do the same thing. They don't require the fingerprinting for volunteers. They actually do it with, it's called InstantVerificationInc.com is the company they do it. You submit your, we'll create an account with them. And again, it's any one of the 4 companies. They pretty much follow the same model. We create a database of what our coaches, our volunteers are going to be for, and then we can set the criteria, right? Westwood, they do the background checks. They're valid for 5 years. If we wanted to do it 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, we can set every criteria that we wanted to do.
Absolutely.
So, I think that's the direction we should go. Our volunteers give up so much time, just like Rich was saying earlier, right? They give up so much time away from their families helping other kids be part of something. So just from past experience, it's just, we did it, 5 years ago, we got fingerprinted for football. We had a Megan's Law grant that was when Margaret Cosell was still here. We all went down there, and that was only
Eamon,
parameters.
would you
Yeah,
slow it down a little bit
sure.
so that we can understand every word?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. We did it 5 years ago, and it's just, it was never really an easy thing to try and do, because we were trying to run from football practice to try and get to an appointment in Paramus that between the hours were only like 5 to 6:30. If you had a 5:15 appointment, you sometimes waited 2.5 hours before they even brought you in there to do it. So my ask for this is to see if we can make that change, and then the same company will do the badges. I know we talked about having badges printed. They do the same thing. Once you pass, to check or pass or fail, they'll be able to produce those for us. So it's just another thing. The $35 fee that we would be paying to them to be able to do it would really simplify things. And again, it's 2020. We're trying to streamline things as much as we possibly can. And as long, I don't think, if Westwood's doing it, I know they have the same GIF carrier that we do. I don't think it should be a bone of contention with our GIF. So like I said, if you guys want to talk about it, I'll talk to anybody who would want to do it. I think it's definitely the right direction that we should be going in, yes.
Mr. Jimmy, if you'd like, I was actually at a meeting with a part of the rec department, and I was working with some people on the software you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
So if you'd like, we could get together and.
Sure, absolutely.
Would that be
Yeah,
good?
and then, like I said, then we can set up our criteria can start from January 1st. We submit all the basketball coaches, or we picked our timelines, and then we can be ahead of it instead of waiting until the season starts. So I think that's just, it'll simplify things, which, again, in this day and age, we should always try to make the process better, not more of a stumbling block for people who are already volunteering their time for us.
And Councilman DeSena, on baseball, I know it's a separate organization, but are you doing fingerprinting?
No.
You're not, okay.
We do a complete background check under Nexus Lexus, FBI
Right.
background check.
I mean, it would be nice to do the fingerprinting, but it's not practical.
It's,
Some-
We
yeah,
have to have,
Yeah.
we have to have something for every
Right, yeah.
volunteer.
Correct.
Something,
Yeah.
whether it's just the
Right.
informational
well,
one.
Mayor Pete, do you
and
wanna
tracking
share?
it,
And
right?
tracking.
That's the
You
most,
have to have
Share
it.
that.
you can
So-
do it all you want, but if we don't track it,
Wait,
that's the,
wait,
yeah.
let's
We
do
could-
One at a time.
Let's
Yes.
do one at a time and just, please.
Yes. So that's my suggestion. So if you guys, we can all work together and try and get this changed, streamlined, and making it better for everybody. We have over 100 volunteers. I know similar to what Mike's talking about with baseball, for lacrosse, all of our coaches through US Lacrosse, because for us to be able to step on the field, we all get background checked the same way.
And the
And we all
ID
have-
badges also, I think,
Yes.
are key, and I think
Yeah.
everybody agrees.
Yeah, and that's something that we don't have to manage. They manage it as part of the fee that the town would pay to them. So same thing, we set up an account with them as, we could probably make Bob the administrator of it, and just whatever he sets up, the criteria just rolls from there, and we have administrators underneath that. All right? So any questions of, please, yep.
Yes, I just want to make sure, we're sure that with JIF, that we'd be covered if we didn't do the fingerprinting?
Yes, this is, and that was a direct question I asked Gary from Westwood, in saying, yes, this is the process that they follow, they have no problems with it, and it's standard practice for that.
Vic?
Mr. Jimmy, no, do you mind if Vic comes up and
Sure.
addresses us from the Jeff?
Come on up, Vic.
Thank you.
That's our GIF man. Not the
Yes,
peanut butter.
As Stacy said, we had a meeting a few days ago, and the way it was, two important points, I think. One, I think the point was made that the fingerprinting really only identifies the person. It doesn't run any background check or anything like that. So,
It confirms the identity of who's saying
right,
they're submitting
exactly.
the
So
information.
if all these other avenues, such as the social security and driver's license and so forth, will do the job, I mean, that's fine. Back to JIF. JIF sent out the best practices, if you will.
Right.
No, they'd like to have optimum with fingerprints, but nothing says anywhere that it's mandatory or that you have to have, or anything like that. So, and as far as coverage, of course, there's going to be coverage, and my opinion, obviously, the more you do, but you got to do something.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line. We've been kind of lax on it, so whether the ordinance has to be changed, so be it. But as long as you get on the road with getting some background checks, and you're just covering ourselves on it, though. Hope that answers the question on it.
So Vic, you would be okay, you don't think if we change the ordinance to exclude fingerprinting, we'd be okay?
Again, as far, not my legal opinion, of course.
I'm not
but
asking for your
I
JIF,
think-
I'm asking for your JIF risk manager opinion.
My JIF
That if we
manager-
changed, if the five of us decide to make a motion to redo the ordinance, have Mr.
Right.
Pollard stricken the
You
fingerprint
got to look
part.
at it, the ultimate. Something happens, and someone says, okay, Township of Washington, you're responsible, you should have done this, you should have done that. Well, depends on how far up the ladder you go. If you went all the way up to the fingerprinting, I'm sure the town would be in a better position.
But we'd be in a better
now.
position than we are now.
Exactly, that's my point. So if you stopped at the fingerprinting, my opinion.
Yeah, because
would be that-
you know,
yeah.
like Stacy pointed out, like Little League just requires us to do the Nexus Lexus background check, and that's suffice enough for them. You know, and they have hundreds of thousands of volunteers every year being Nexus Lexus because it's all over the world. And you know, and they're saying as long as we get a social that matches their driver's license, we're okay.
And the driver's license is the photo ID,
Photo ID, we keep
which
it.
does, right, it's the,
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Okay.
right, right,
thank you.
right. No, I think we have to change the Yes. Okay, okay.
Eamon, is everyone going to get this done as soon as possible before the beginning of lacrosse, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, I could still do with all the current basketball coaches. I have the list of who they are. What we would just need to do is choose one of the
Is
four
that
options.
that's going on now?
Yeah, so we could, but again, all you need is a roster, and then we can get the detailed information that we need and just submit it all in batch format to them, and they would start running them right away. So
And is
we just
there-
got to come to the conclusion on which software we want to use.
And is there an exclusion for, say, teachers who are coaching who have already, or who go for the background check every 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, and that would be something that that's criteria we set up, right? Cops, we've had 10 cops coaching with us. They don't need background checks. So then that's the criteria that I'm talking about, making it pretty
It's
much.
easier to just background
Yeah.
check everyone because Little League doesn't exempt anyone, so.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, it's, because it makes it so much easier, because now I'm worried like, oh, you know, Eamon's a cop or he's a teacher, and what if he retires and all of a sudden we have him in the system? So we just, you know,
Yeah,
it's
$35
peanuts.
just do
It's- Just do it,
Right.
everybody. I would be more comfortable just doing everybody, and that's just the way it is.
Okay, so why don't we call another meeting with everybody who's involved, and we can settle the criteria, and then we'll put it out there, and we'll talk about the,
It's a rec meeting, right?
yeah, rec meeting.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yep.
And then
Okay.
you'll make this a condition of employment?
Well, again,
Everybody has to get checked, everybody has to pass,
Well-
and everybody has, whatever. And
It's a big
that they
difference.
have to wear the lanyards.
Well, again, we could talk about that. I mean, when you're
I'm
coaching.
talking
youth-
about it now.
When you're coaching youth soccer and you're not from this town and you're not a dad that is involved, the baseball guys, the lacrosse guys, I've already got a lanyard on that says I'm certified for lacrosse.
Everybody who's
So-
involved with us.
If that's your stipulation, then we can make them do it. Listen, we can also have it in your wallet or in your pocketbook, or on your phone, whatever it's going to be. I mean, the lanyards
On your person,
isn't.
somewhere.
I
Yeah,
think it should be
Visible
more.
on your front, a lanyard works.
Because then you
but-
can see who belongs, who doesn't.
yeah. I mean,
Right. Shouldn't give it-
whatever your
Please.
stipulations are, we can, you'd be buying a lot of lanyards, for sure.
If we bypass the fingerprints, we're giving that up, but we need to get everything else done as quickly and as thoroughly as possible,
I agree.
please.
Again, you just got to make
I
sure
know
that
you're
it
as
serves a
concerned
purpose.
about the children as we all
Yeah,
are.
always are.
And I think just the identification of the individuals on the field who belong there and who are directly interacting
Right.
with the children will alleviate concerns that there's someone who's there, who's talking to a child who's not supposed to be talking to a
Yep,
child.
totally agree.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
okay.
Anything else?
Good? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Michael Ullman, 2 Clark Avenue. First, congratulations to you, Ms. Feeney, and you, Ms. Morgan, on your win. And Art, congratulations.
And
Thank you,
for-
nice to see you, Mr.
Yeah, thank you for
Ullman.
being here tonight.
So just follow up on Mr. Toomey's comments, because I guess I misunderstood today, or let's back it up. For the calendar year 2019, were recreation volunteers ID checked? or background checked.
Based upon the meeting we had, we actually were going to be putting a statement out on that. So I'll be more than happy to take your questions, and then we're going to put a statement out responding to your questions.
Okay, so the question specifically is, for the calendar year 2019, all volunteers who interacted with children in the Washington Township Rec Department was a background check performed on them?
Yes, I have it down. Thank you.
Okay. And my apologies, is this may be considered moot comments in terms of your decisioning on one of the appointments, but I feel it's worth bringing up as it is a warning of what potentially you should be concerned about as you move forward in your roles as council people. So there was a appointment for the Director of Finance, and that was Mr. Tovo. And my comments were that I would have strongly opposed his appointment as Finance Director for a number of reasons. I think initially I would say that as part of the interview panel of Mr. Tovo, Mr. DeSena was a part of it, as was Mr. Calamari. In the interview, he indicated that he was not a finance-type person.
And I'm sorry, you're saying Mayor Calamari, correct?
Yes.
Was in the interview, okay.
Correct. He was not a finance-type person, and that came up in the context of discussing the hiring of a full-time CFO. I think he welcomed that individual when they would be hired to handle finance. I do think that Mr. Tovo, in some of his decisioning, has shown a disregard for proper counting of expenses. We could talk about the Caning Group search fee. We could talk about the charging of equipment to COA. We could talk about the charges of the demolition of the house at the intersection. Was initially charged to the intersection, and it was agreed that it was part of the firehouse and it should be charged accordingly. So these are things that I believe show sort of a disregard for proper accounting. In terms of contract law, this is an area that I've spoken about previously. I don't know if it was ever officially referred to anyone to review, but if we talk about the wiring and access control for Town Hall, we have a project that, in his own words, per a public meeting, could cost upwards of $90,000, yet we don't have business requirements, we don't have bid specifications, there was no bid advertisement, no bids were received.
Okay.
When a request was made for an electrical wiring diagram in an OPRA, it was not provided.
Okay, do you have the Oprah you could submit?
I have the OPRA, reference OR 422. On January 22nd of 2019, quotes were provided for $52,000 for Part 1 and $25,000 for Part 2,
Mr. Allman, just so you know, 30 seconds.
totaling $77,000. Were we told that there's a 5-minute limit? I don't recall.
But there is a 5-minute.
There may be. Were we advised of it? $77,000.
My apologies, you were not advised. I will give you another 30 seconds.
It's on the
but
agenda.
It's on the agenda.
We received quotes subsequent to that of $40,000. Immediately after, a quote was received minus $6,800, which put it under the bid threshold of $40,000. That $6,800 was paid, although the quote for the work was $6,600. So I don't know why we're paying $6,800 on
I'm sorry.
$6,600.
You said it was less 68 and then it was plus 66?
So the quote, The first quote was for $40,079. A line item was deleted for cabling of $6,620, bringing it to $33,000, which puts it under the bid threshold, but the work is still there, so the project still had that cost.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ullman, you're out of time.
Okay. To be continued.
Thank you very much for coming up and giving us the information. Would anybody else like to come up?
Hi, Joe Durso, 12 Viola Terrace. I'll make it quick. The roads, I know $700,000 was budgeted last year. I know it wasn't spent. I thank the mayor and the administrator for taking time to talk to the people on my street. I know it's a cul-de-sac, but it's in a lot of, it's in disrepair. It hasn't been touched since 1992, so any consideration for that street would be appreciated. Do you plan on maybe putting in $1.5 million this year in the budget to do the roads, since we didn't have any roads done last year?
So the budgeting conversations haven't started yet, and that will be addressed. If you'd like to
Okay.
put that as a question, and I can get back to you after that's been reviewed.
Thank you. Like most, I seen an article in the local paper about Gorga Place. Interesting.
By what place? I'm sorry.
Gorga Place.
Oh, Gorga Place.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the LLC that owns it, but interesting. I sat on the planning board for 2 years. Art, Mike, I'm sure if you guys had heard about it, and I know you didn't because you weren't on there, and I know you probably weren't brought up to speed on it. And Peter, I know you mentioned it was an oversight, and that's a big oversight. And I know you say you have faith in Mr. Azzolino, but it just doesn't look right. I mean, it's not fair to. I mean, I honestly think it's going to be a great development based on what that builder said, but it's just not how you do things. And I get oversights happen, but it's not fair to the people that live there within the 200 feet area.
Mr. Durso, have you brought this up with the
No. I'm bringing it up to you
No,
guys.
I'm just asking.
I can go to a planning board meeting.
I'm actually just asking to see if you had brought it up with them. It
No,
wasn't.
not at all. I'm just saying, a lot of oversights seem to happen in this town. But, I just hope it becomes a nice development. It looks like it will. But people in Hohokus might be a little upset over it. Is Gorga Place going to be, a question they probably would ask if they had the opportunity, but it's approved. Is it not going to be a cul-de-sac anymore? Is it going to be separate entrances? So those are questions that residents and neighbors have a right to know, and it seemed like this got mistakenly, put through underneath the carpet. I could talk about the Viviano properties, but that's 78 homes that are just going to kill Van Emberg Avenue, and I know you have no choice about it, but one thing I'll talk about is, I know my time is running out, is Mr. Tovo, I have nothing against you, but I don't think you, and I've been on this since 2011, we haven't had a finance director. Peter, I get maybe you decided to have a finance director, but he's the administrator who's going to put the budget together, who oversees the CFO. How can he, be, where's the separate set of eyes looking at it? That's just my statement. You don't have to answer. But, I mean, you had volunteers to do it. I mean, outside, there's other financial people in this town that are willing to be involved. And, I'm not saying anything that he's not qualified, but it just seems like you're keeping it within the reins, and, it's all about transparency. And last one, on the sign die, why was the auditor and appointments of zoning tabled? And
There were other people interested for the zoning, and they will be submitting their resumes and their letter of interest by the end of this month. And for the auditor, I myself, who am in the financial world, requested that we take a look at other auditors out there and see maybe if there was a better option, or they could offer something different than we currently have.
Okay.
It was not anything against Lume. It was just that in my opinion, dealing with audits on a regular basis globally, that sometimes a new set of eyes after a few years is a better way to go.
Couldn't agree with you more. Lurch, Fincy, and Higgins was here for over 20 years. Are they in consideration again, since they've been here? I know they've been doing work for the town, so obviously
I'm
they
just
are.
not sure if I'm allowed to say, so I'm gonna check with Ken. I'm not allowed to say?
That's fine. I'm just
So-
making a statement.
Are we meeting with firms without the council knowing?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
Okay, and I know my time's running out, though.
Well, the statement
I'm
was
sorry,
just
can
made.
we let Mr. Joseph finish?
Okay.
My time's running out, and I don't want, obviously I know I have 5 minutes, so.
I'll give you a few more seconds, don't worry.
You came to the conclusion on the sign die before anybody was, you were in your position, the council president, and who put that whole thing together? Who put the,
I'm sorry, but put together.
who
what
put the agenda together?
Sue puts the agenda together.
And under whose guidance? Who made the decision to table the auditor?
No,
Not me.
no, I was the one who was sitting here, and I was the one who said, I'd like to look at other people that
Okay,
night.
so you had no conversation with anybody else on the zone, on the board?
No, I thought that we maybe should look at somebody else,
Okay.
because again, as I stated, that after a few years of somebody looking at our books, it might be a good idea, and you agreed.
Absolutely.
To have a new set of eyes come in.
I'm making a statement. I hope you don't go full circle, back to the old auditors.
Well, I'm going to make the best decision based upon the information provided by all of the candidates.
Yep, that's the proper way to do it. And last but not least, the zoning, I guess it's the same thing. You tabled the zoning appointments because you wanted fresh faces, and it's your purview as a council to pick and choose, I know.
Somebody else could have something better to offer than
Right.
somebody who's sitting there currently. It has nothing to do with anybody who's currently on the zoning board. It has to do what's in the best interest of the town.
Okay.
And that's it.
And I'll leave you with this. I know it's
Your
on your...
time's actually up. I'm very sorry.
I'm just going to leave you with 20 seconds because Mike actually cut me off. So I figured, the police chief, terminal leave. I just want to know when your discussions, and I'll stick around for it. He became police chief, and Glenn Hooper was a great guy. Was his last terminal leave charted in 2014 or 2019?
I do not have that information for you, but I'll take it as a question.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come up, please? No, I'd like a motion to close public session.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we have no second reading for ordinances tonight, but we have an introduction of a first reading. Ordinance number 20-01, an ordinance under Chapter 55 of the Code of the Township of Washington, amending the compensation payable to certain employees for the year 2019. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 20-01 at first reading by title. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I'll second the motion. Steve, roll call.
Councilman Casio?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
No.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
And Council President Feeney?
Yes. Resolution number 20-138, authorizing publication of ordinance number 20-01 and schedule a public hearing. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. Resolution number 20-139, authorize 2020 transfer of appropriations, revised R19334, various accounts. Sorry, just 1 second, I want to just pull this out. Oh, may I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. Do we want to have discussion?
Mrs. Curran, have you reviewed this and or
Yes, I have.
you're okay with all the numbers?
I'm okay. I could explain what happened if you like.
Yes, please.
That would be good. Thank you.
I had examined the budget at the end of the year to be able to make transfers for items that did not have enough funding. I did that before December 30th meeting, and it was approved. However, there was certain line items that were encumbered on 12/31. Because we had to delay our rollover, we were instructed by Evans that we had to encumber the funds on 12/31 and cut the checks on 12/31. So
Okay.
therefore, I had no choice but to actually make this amendment. I had asked Mr. Calamari in the future, if I have to make a transfer, could I let those people know ahead of time so we're all on the same page and we'll communicate at the same time?
Okay, thank you
And this
very
would
much.
not have to happen.
Okay, but it was just because of the way the scheduling was?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Wasn't anybody's fault, it was just the way
No
the
fault.
scheduling
No,
fell?
No. I don't know if you'd like to do that or not, but I think that would save a problem if people could have it ahead of time.
But it's good to know that it's just based off of scheduling?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
she's looking for
I'm
help.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Look at that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure. I couldn't find mine for a moment.
I'm sorry, yes, I did mark it, but I took the tab off. Roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Thank you, and thank you, Judy. Resolutions for consent agenda. All the following items have been determined to have unanimous consent of the council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution 20-132, award of contract of special health services to Northwest Bergen Regional Health Commission, 24 months expiring December 31st, 2021. Resolution 20-140, authorize mayor to execute shared service agreement with the BCUA Certified Recycling Professional Tonnage Grant Assistance Program. Resolution number 20-141, authorize fire department mutual aid agreement with Ho-Hokus and Paramus. Resolution number 20-142, authorize refund of added assessment tax appeal, 531 Mountain Avenue, B4216L9, in the total amount of $3,036.25. Resolution 20143, authorize refund of engineering escrow monies, Miracle Catering, 279 Pascack Road, in the total amount of $79.35. Resolution 20-144, authorize refund of first quarter property tax overpayment, 777 Washington Avenue, B2202L10, in the total amount of $293.65. Resolution 20145, authorize refund of engineering escrow monies, 115 Hickory Street, B4512L7, in the total amount of $368. Resolution 20-146, authorize refund of engineering escrow monies, 145 President's Road, B450.01L12, in the total amount of $478.75. Resolution 20-147, authorize refund of engineering escrow monies, 477 Van Emberg, B1306L1.01, in the total amount of $244. Resolution 20148, authorize refund of added assessment tax appeal, 121 Carver Avenue, B3103, lots 25.01 and 25.02, in the total amount of $1,555.02. Authorize payment of bills December 31st, 2019 through January 16th, 2020. Resolution 20-150, authorize performance guarantee reduction to Stagger Lee LLC, 195 Linwood Avenue. Resolution 20-151, approval of amended temporary budget. Resolution 20-152, approval of collective bargaining agreement, PBA Local 206, January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2022. Resolution 20-153, award of contract of fire truck. Resolution 20-154. Authorize execution of an application for cooperative purchasing with Houston Galveston Area Council, HGAC. May I have a motion, or would you like to have
I
discussion?
need to have a motion first before.
Well,
I can
may I have a
discuss.
motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
So,
Okay,
can we pull 151, 153, and 154?
sure. So you said 151 first?
Yeah, 151, 153, and 154.
May I ask a question on 132?
Yes, you absolutely may.
Has was it pay to play
Yes,
been straightened out with Northwest Bergen?
yeah, I received it right after the last meeting, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're good.
Do you want to pull that, Art? or you did?
No, it's not necessary to pull it once the pay to play's been received. That's
So we
no
had it
problem
last-
like the last time.
We had it last meeting, and she didn't have the
Thank you.
correct documentation.
Okay.
Okay, 151. 151, approval of amended temporary budget.
You know, I'll let you,
What's your,
that's all. Do the rest
We'll
of it.
pass them all,
Okay,
pass the remainder.
okay.
And then we'll.
May I have a motion to pass all of these resolutions except for 20151, 20150, I'm sorry, Mike.
3 and 54.
Okay, 153 and 154. Second,
Second.
roll call?
Councilman Casio?
yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. Okay, let's, 20-151.
Yes. Who prepared the temporary budget, Mr. Tova?
CFO did.
Judy, can you confirm that?
Yes, I did.
We should have enough money in there to take us through the budget that we haven't received yet?
Yes, it should take us to 331. I went over every line item from the previous year, and I based it upon that, with a few increases.
And we're within that 25% or whatever it is?
26.25%, yes.
We're within it?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I had on that one.
So we can put that on the, we can pass that now? 151?
Yes. Is there any more questions on 20-151? That's okay. I'm more than happy to have the help, it's fine. Fine.
Okay.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes.
I had asked 153 and 154 be moved for discussion because it's such an important day for the township that we're getting a new fire truck after, I think, 30 years. Something like that, Mr. Billies, right?
This one was replaced in 1994.
Okay, so close. So that's all. I just wanted to have a separate vote on that because I thought it was such an important date that the township gets a new fire truck.
Good idea.
Okay.
Maybe we can put some QQ plates on the old fire truck.
It's getting traded in if you read the
Put it
agreement.
next to the one up by me at the used car lot.
There you go.
It's got the antique, the other antique.
To let you drive it. Let you drive on Sunday.
Really? Yeah.
Okay, let's move it along.
Sorry.
Any other questions, please? No. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Barbara second.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Probably yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. And 153 is,
That was 153 and 154.
is the cooperative purchasing with Houston Galveston Area Council for 154.
Is that the co-op we're using, Mr. Tovo, to get the new fire truck?
Correct.
Thank you. That's all the question I had.
Anybody else have any questions? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes.
Council President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
may I just make a quick comment before we leave the regular meeting?
Yes, you may.
I should have read it earlier, I'm sorry, but former director, now Cicchetti, did submit his retirement from the position, so I was happy that he put in over his 50 years of service to the town, and we will honor him at an upcoming meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very
Can
much.
I make one quick statement, Mrs. Feeney? I thought we were going to do reports tonight, so I just wanted...
No, we did them last time.
Okay,
so
that's what I thought, but
Well,
just-
actually, if it's not on the agenda,
it's just about Martin Luther King Day, that's all, if you don't mind.
no, that's fine.
So, today is Martin Luther King Day. We should take it as a great day in history. We as a community can learn from Mr. King's words of his great human whose messages were not just of peace, progress, and unity. They were of being the best humans we can be. And I quote him, "Be a bush if you can be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be a sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are." That's from a speech he gave to junior high school students in Philadelphia. So he was a great man. It's a great day. And I thought we were going to have time to say it during our, so I just wanted to recognize Mr. King today.
Thank you, Councilman DeSena. Like to
Good
adjourn
thought,
to-
thank you.
You're welcome.
Like to adjourn to conference agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Current business, administration, police vehicle leasing.
Recognize Mr.
I'll
Tobin.
take that.
I'm
if you
sorry, I
want.
recognize Mr. Cho. I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you. This year, as we were looking over our history on the police vehicle acquisitions, we realized that we're a little out of whack as far as the replacement of vehicles and the timing of vehicles that were previously leased, because they weren't leased with an option to buy. They were simply leased to be turned back in after that lease was up. So we saw an opportunity to enter into leasing and lease 2 marked vehicles as replacements, 2 unmarked vehicles to replace the Hyundais that were on the lease with no option to buy. This new lease does give us the dollar buyout at the end for all 4 vehicles. In addition, we had 1 vehicle that was totaled out due to water damage and not enough money in the budget to fund all these vehicles if we were to do a straight-out purchase of all of them. So this vehicle was, this replacement was purchased outright as a Chevy Tahoe, as the police want to explore other vehicle options going forward. In looking at the long-term impact of leasing, we'll see a reduction in the first 2 years of leasing. We'll see a little bit of a peak in year 3 while we're still paying all 4 vehicles. Then it's going to go down and stabilize at about $20,000 less per year than what we're paying now. And that's why we're recommending.
Lease them for 4 years?
3 years. If we're getting more use out of the vehicles, I'll use the Tahoe as an example. We're very likely to get 4 to 5 years out, and we can adjust our lease terms going forward.
How much is the buyout roughly?
$1. And they actually never collect $1.
So we're leasing 4 vehicles, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 2 are marked, 2 are unmarked, and they're all 3-year terms with a dollar
Correct.
buyout on each. And what's that total cost per unit per year?
Per unit per year, it's total lease is $66,000 for all 4 per year.
And what did we spend last year on leasing?
Last year on the 2 Hyundais, off the top of my head, about 16 or 17,000. But then we had the vehicle acquisitions on top of that, which is another 100,000.
You said all 4 is 66,000?
Yes, per year.
We spent $17K on leasing 2 vehicles last year,
No,
right?
I was looking for
Is
this.
that correct?
Or, no, I was
And then
looking
we
for this.
bought
I was looking for
the other, we bought
Yeah.
2 more for 100,000?
Correct. Let me do the math on the vehicles.
It's like 16.5 each. Yeah. Right, right. And the life on the 4 vehicles, That you're assuming 4 to 5 years total life?
On the two unmarked, I would expect that we will get likely 6 to 7 years out of those. Out of the marked vehicles, 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
So rather than us doing a rough amount of, do you have an idea of what each vehicle, are these Tahoes, all of them?
No, they are Ford Explorers. The Tahoe is the outright purchase.
Four-wheel drive?
Well, four-wheel drive, yes.
So each one is costing $16,000 a year, 16.5.
Per year,
That's for
yes.
3 years, right? So that's $48,000 for the car on a lease.
And that includes all the equipment and everything required for the police department in the
Total.
car?
Yeah, how
So
much
that's-
more do you have to spend for the lights and stuff?
No, he said total, it's all in.
That's all in. These are minor expenses for a radio switchover, but all the other equipment that's needed is included.
So the lights.
Lettering?
Yes.
Not so bad.
No, I agree.
That's a good deal. Judy, any comment?
I don't know, a car's are gonna last 6 to 7 years, but I just understand that.
They get rough usage.
Unmarked vehicles.
Yeah, unmarked, not on the road every day, and. you know,
They get
but-
very rough usage in the department, not like our
No, I thought it would
usage.
be less, I didn't think it would
she's
last
talking
6
about,
to 7
she's thinking
years.
it's not
No,
gonna last 6
To clarify, the unmarked vehicles, you'll get longer life out of
They're not
7
on the
years.
street as much.
Marked cars, you will not.
So they're not on the street as
What
much
again,
as they-
marked car, 4 to 5?
Unmarked,
4 to 5.
No,
6 to
unmarked
7.
6 to 7, and then the marked cars 4 to 5. So, because they're on, the marked cars are, what Mr. Cho was saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that the marked cars are on the street more and have a very heavy usage, and the unmarked cars not so much, have less usage.
that's
They
correct.
floor them on the way to a call, thank goodness.
Well, hopefully before the 5.
Hopefully the Fords are more reliable now than they used to be. Sounds like a good deal.
Any other questions on this matter?
Are the Hyundais are going to cost us anything further at all, Mr. T?
We have an option to buy the Hyundais out and repurpose them to both code enforcement and fire inspection, or a pool vehicle, so that any employee going to school can utilize the vehicle and we're not paying mileage.
How old are those cars?
3 years old, very low mileage.
And what are the next steps in regards to this matter?
You'll see this, this is all 2019 money, I'm sorry, and then we'll see the reduction in vehicle acquisitions in 2020.
Okay.
And how much are we saving overall with this transition to the Fords, the new cars?
Well, we'll save in the first year.
For instance, as a comparison with the Hyundais.
Well, it's a timing, man. Well, in the first, I'm sorry, the Hyundais versus,
The Hyundais versus the Explorers.
well, we're gonna spend a little more money for the Explorer, but we're gonna own it at the end.
Yes.
The Hyundais were not. So, all in all, it's probably a wash.
Thank you. Rather have the Explorer. The Hyundais are small.
I'm gonna move on to the second item, procurement cards, P-cards agreement with Bank of America.
Yes, ma'am. There's a very limited opportunity for local government in New Jersey to utilize credit cards of any kind. The P-card program is one exception. The reason we looked into this option was for the purpose of background checks, or paying for the background checks for our volunteer coaches. We did receive some resistance regarding putting the money out and waiting for the township to reimburse our volunteers. So we found this as a mechanism to pay on their behalf in advance.
Mr. Chovo, is there plans for other uses for this card also?
I would rather not.
So you're going to limit it to background checks
Correct.
only? Okay. And who's gonna be in possession of the card?
I will.
Can council be provided a copy of the bill on a monthly basis?
Absolutely. It's got to be part of the admin system, so it'll print out with your report.
Okay. Would that suffice?
I'm okay with that.
You familiar with this garden?
As Mr. Toll was saying, people aren't a fan of it because they came to review, so you have to really control.
But as Mr. Chobo said, he's only going to be using
Right,
it
I'm
for
just saying
background
you
check,
have
and he's gonna be in possession of it, so. Are you comfortable with that?
No. State doesn't really like them, that's what I'm saying, but just used for that, you know,
Well, that's the plan,
because there's been problems in the past with towns.
but not here.
Not here, no, we never had them before.
Anybody else have any? Okay. E-recycling agreement with Green Chip.
Thank you again. We have opportunity to enter into a no-cost agreement with Green Chip to provide an e-recycling container here on site at our DMF facility. They would be responsible for delivery, pickup upon our request. I think it's a nice service that I understand we had previously offered it directly or indirectly through a different municipality. It's one of those items where I've had a lot of questions regarding, you know, our ability to bring this back. And with a free contract offer like this, I think it's worth exploring.
Is this the only one you investigated?
We looked at a number, and I checked with our recycling team over at Atlantic Coast Fiber, just to vet out some of those companies that were making offers. Some they were familiar with and gave advice. This particular company they were somewhat familiar with and thought their program could work, could be beneficial for us.
Mr. Tova, when I was reading the review form, it talks about due diligence review at regular intervals and identifying a specific official or employee to be responsible. Has that been addressed yet, or are you know, I'm concerned about the time for the due diligence review. Do they come in, or do we just send documents back?
It's a combination of both, and Mr. Lawler would be the one to oversee it.
Do you know if they come in yearly, quarterly?
I do recall reading when, I believe it's more than yearly, but I think less than quarterly.
And it's not gonna impact or cause any interruption or extreme amounts of extra time for review, you think?
It should not, no.
And Mr. Law will go for the training, I'm assuming? Or-
Yes, we're working to schedule that now.
Mr. Pollard, it's okay that we did this in this fashion? We didn't put out an RFP or anything, and we just received the quote?
Recycling is not included in RFP requirements. They just have to be recognized by the state
I
as a...
just want to confirm with Mr. Pollard.
I think that is true. I wasn't consulted, but I think that was true.
You think it's true, or is it true?
I believe it is true.
I'd like your, I know what Mr. Tobo's saying, you're our,
Okay, one person, one at a time, please, one
And
at a time.
I'll be happy to look it up and absolutely tell you for
If
sure.
you could just
but-
confirm that we're not doing
okay.
anything
Yeah.
wrong, that we don't get ourselves into trouble.
No, I understand.
It's a great free thing, but sometimes free has, you know.
My apologies, Mr. Polo. I didn't copy you on that for the reason that...
No problem.
Any other questions in regard to number 3? Okay. Ordinances and legislation, we have none. Financials, we have none. And now on to
Can I
miscellaneous.
ask a question about the financials?
Absolutely.
I don't know if it was supposed to be on the agenda tonight, but I know Lord Trincy had asked about doing their enrollment finance work for us at the end of the year, and I haven't seen it on the agenda, and they
I think we'll take that
start soon.
offline and put it on then we'll schedule it at a later, for the next meeting. Is that, you and I can discuss that?
Well, they do the ADS, and it's due 1/31.
So we'll just,
Ken, this is yours.
Otherwise, it's a penalty.
What is she asking?
Lord Trincy.
Lord Trincy.
He said they're just a contract, they don't need to be.
They will come in this week.
That's correct. They don't have to be. There's no resolution. They're under 17.5, so they have the
So
pay to
that's it?
play. No, they could be doing the,
discussion on anything else, so
no,
they
they could do the
no, he
county
says it
work.
doesn't require a discussion.
Okay, so then we could just,
The mayor has the paperwork to sign off
so we
tonight.
could just sign off on, because he wanted me to.
Okay, so
do
let's
it, so
just
see.
stop the conversation because it's not a council matter, so let's move on to miscellaneous. and you could talk to the mayor
Oh,
after
that's
the
fine.
meeting? Okay. Okay, Councilman DeSena, light and electrical box at Town Hall.
Yes, Mr. Tovo, any progress on this?
I have spoken to the engineer a number of times. We having a difficult time replacing the lights in kind right now. So we're looking at new lighting for outside to replace what's there. And the other item left, the light, I would ask you to show me the electrical box, 'cause I didn't see that. I see one that's closed up. I don't see one that's open or hazardous. And there's still one remaining item regarding seal coating on the back wall. But it appears as though the regrading of the driveway may have taken care of most of that.
And the engineer is willing to sign off without the seal coating? Because his original,
No, I don't think we're at that point yet, but like I said,
because his
the
original
situation's
design,
gotten better.
okay, because his original design was to seal coat that wall, so.
I think there's some disagreement between the old engineer and the current engineer,
Okay.
but there will be some seal coating required.
Okay.
Wait, what about that electrical box by the police wall?
He's saying he doesn't know where it is.
Mr. Tovo, when you walk in the building next to the police department, the captain's office, on the right-hand side, there's about an 8-inch by 8-inch phenolic box, gray. It has 3 conduit going up into it from the ground, 1-inch conduit. 1 or 2 of those at least has been broken off for as long as I can remember, right as they go into the bottom of the box. That's the flaw that everybody has been talking about for the longest time.
So is the conduit that's not there anymore.
No, the conduit's still there, so is the box, but it's broken and they need to
Conduit's there
repair it.
and it goes into the box and the wires are exposed.
So in
Okay.
order to
That's
expedite
improper.
the.
I'm sorry.
Maybe you gentlemen would show Mr. Tovo, and then that would probably resolve the matter, I think?
It will.
Okay, would that be okay, Councilman DeSena?
Well, yeah, we've been talking about this for,
No,
you
I'm not
know,
talking about,
wow.
would you go with Mr. Tovo?
That's fine.
And
Yeah.
Councilman Cummings?
Mr. Cumming will assist us.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll be up at 11 o'clock tomorrow,
Is
anyway.
everybody good with that
That's my
plan of
schedule.
action? And
And
then we
then
can resolve this
I'm
matter?
not sure about the seal coating, whether it should be dropped or not.
Well, you were saying that the old engineer and the new engineer may be disagreeing in that matter, so I think that needs to be resolved.
Yeah, when I say disagree, the original plan as compared to what the new engineer is recommending, there may be some variations.
So how do we get the right direction to go to?
Part number 1 was regrading the driveway. And now that we have some time for all that to settle, we can reevaluate if we're experiencing the same kind of seepage we were before.
Okay. So you have a plan.
We do.
Is that acceptable? Does anybody have any other questions?
There was seepage in the locker room last year when we did the lighting job. Captain Calamari pointed it out to me and called it mold. I said it was efflorescence, which is water intrusion beneath the surface through the concrete wall. That could be newer. We may still need to do some things.
Did the original plan call for seal coating?
I just saw the plans.
If it called for it, and we didn't get it, we paid for something we didn't get. So that really infuriates me. So if it's on the plan, it needs to be done, because we paid for it. So I don't know why we're not being sticklers with our contracts.
We are being sticklers. We didn't pay for any seal coating because they couldn't do it at the time because it was too cold.
Was it on, my question is, was it on the plan? And did we have to pay, was it part of the,
He said we didn't pay
Right.
for it. He did state we did not pay for it. So that's answered.
well, if it's on the plan, I think it should be done. Because an engineer decided at the time it needed to be done, so it should be done. And obviously, Art saw there was difficult with it, right? You saw seepage?
There's seepage.
And you gotta take care of it. I mean, if you wanna put the police department in jeopardy again with seepage,
It's
because
in
that's
the
where
locker,
they live,
in the locker
we have a
room.
problem.
Yeah.
So I think that should go on top of the list.
I think we'll look at that too.
Okay, so the plan then is for, you're gonna work with Mr. Tovo to.
And
see
the
what-
engineer.
And the engineer, and report back to us next meeting.
If we can get some conclusion, I'd be
Yeah.
happy to.
But you let us know, if you could let us know either way, if there's a
Sure,
conclusion or
sure.
there's still a plan in place. Does that work for everybody?
Okay.
Okay. Next item, attorney report, summer recreation, director, assistant director. Councilman DeSena.
Mr. Pollard, can you finally present your
Okay,
memo?
sure.
Since you were sick and you
Right.
weren't able to present it that
Yeah,
night, so
yeah. No
I would just
problem.
like to get your take on your memo.
Right, okay, no problem. So if you'll bear with me, the assignment was basically to look into the increase in hourly rate that was paid to the director, the summer recreation director, from $22.66 to $25.75. And in doing that, I tried to go back and find out what happened and how it happened and so forth, because there was a lot of talk about what this position entailed and how much was to be paid for it, okay? And in doing that, I asked her, I did receive just about, well, not just about, I received every record that bared upon this issue. Payroll records, W-2s, personnel action forms, ordinances, weekly statements, you name it, and I asked for all of it and reviewed all of it. In addition, in order to get a full understanding of what happened and why there was that there was some confusion, I interviewed the mayor, the recreation director, the administrator, the chief financial officer, the purchasing assistant, payroll clerk, the administrative secretary, and the township clerk. So basically, the ordinance itself is written in a way that makes it appear that the summer recreation director gets paid $22.66 per hour for the preseason, and a flat fee of $5,050 for the regular season, okay? That was set forth, it appears that way in the way the ordinance is written. That's what was discussed at the various council meetings. A lot of people during the discussion of this made reference to the fact that there were two ways of dealing with preseason and the regular season. But in point of fact, in going through all of the records, it turns out that that was not the case at all, and there never was a flat fee for the season itself. That was always paid by an hourly rate, okay?
You're saying historically it was paid by an
Historically,
hourly rate.
historically, exactly right. The ordinance was written a certain way, and it appears, it really does look like it's a flat fee, and a lot of people took it as a flat fee, but in going back over all the records and discussing it with the payroll clerk and looking at all the vouchers and all of the records of how the compensation was paid, including the payroll checks themselves, they were basically hourly rate, or either hourly rate or periods of time. During the last administration, they had periods of time, but it never was a flat fee. There was even some discussion that I think one of our officers actually even said that they thought that there was a voucher for $5,050 and it was paid, and it was for the season itself, but it wasn't. That if you look at the actual document, that was also hourly, and it wasn't 50/50, it was 51/50, and it was basically hours, okay? So that was one thing. Number two, the recreation program itself turned out to be much larger than what was anticipated. I think I put in here, it was about, the numbers were about 77% increase or something along those lines. And so the director went to the mayor and asked the mayor, in light of all the extra work, the bigger program, more people involved, et cetera, that he was looking for an increase in the hourly rate to $25.75, okay? Now, I don't think anybody up here is going to say that the absolute correct thing to do at that particular point was to go get the ordinance changed. It would have reflected that there was an error in the way the ordinance was written to begin with, okay? But what was done instead was that a personnel action form was prepared to reflect the increase. Now, there was money in the budget, and ordinarily, if there's enough money in the budget, there's a certain amount of leeway that the administration does have in terms of payments if there's money in the budget, because that's the thing that they're limited to. But the personnel action form was prepared, and it turns out that the payroll clerk does follow the personnel action form. The payroll clerk doesn't start to go into the ordinance and interpret the ordinance. Whatever the payroll clerk gets in terms of the personnel action form, that's what she follows, and that's what she did follow. The mayor, when he recognized or realized that he did not get the ordinance amended, did ask that an amendatory ordinance be put on before the council. And if you remember, I think it was the meeting of August the 12th, an ordinance came on which was to correct other salary errors with respect to the clerk's office. And in addition, there was an ordinance adjustment on the hourly rate as well. There was some quick discussion about that. That's when a lot of discussion came out about, well, we budgeted it on a tier basis, which in fact turned out not to be true. There was nothing in the budget about tiering the director's preseason and in-season compensation. I went through all the budget hearings. I interviewed everybody who was at the budget in terms of the administration and so on, listened to tapes, and so there really wasn't any discussion about that. So the long and the short of it was that he brought forth the ordinance. It was tabled, which would have corrected it. So that created a situation where, although there was enough money in the budget, it did not match up to the ordinance itself. All right. So as a result, the mayor then said, okay, well, we have to correct that and change it to correct the error. And what he did was that he had the payroll clerk recalculate the compensation payable to the director based on $22.66 an hour. And she did do that, and her figures are on the documents that I had gotten. And what they did do was that they recalculated what the correct amount was, and on the last check, they took off the excess that he received so that the correct amount was paid. So at the end of the day, the correct amount was paid.
But when
It was
did-
20 yeah.
When do we address the 12-hour days and overtime and all that?
That's a different issue. That's not what this subject was all about.
But we brought that up at the, you were
I know
doing
you-
research on that also. and
That
we
was
were
not
waiting.
part, yeah, okay, but that was not part of this.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of get through that one. There was also a request to look into the assistant director, if you remember, right? And I know there was some discussion about that, but I wanted to kind of go over that as well. Basically, the Faulkner Act provides that the mayor shall, subject to limits on the municipal budget, fix the amount of salary, wages, or other compensation to be paid employees of the administrative departments of the municipal government, except that the salary, wages, or other compensation paid the director of each department shall be fixed by the council, and except that salaries of officers which are required by law to be fixed by ordinance shall be fixed by ordinance, okay? Now, the way our code is set up, or the way that it has functioned, is that we actually pass a salary ordinance. So if a position is covered by the salary ordinance, then the salary ordinance would govern.
But
let me just
let
finish.
me just interject one thing. Hold on, say,
No,
Mr. Pollard.
Councilman DeSena, please let Mr. Pollard finish.
Okay, I'll let him finish.
All right, all right.
I'm not gonna lose my train of thought, but.
All right. So if there is a position that's dealt with by the salary ordinance, that is what governs. But if the salary ordinance is silent as to a position, the department heads are allowed to hire people, and the mayor would be able to fix the salary or compensation subject to the municipal budget limitations. Okay? So the assistant director is not in the table of organization or the table of employees that were commented or classified as in your salary ordinance. So it was a different position.
Mr. Pollard, can Councilman DeSena now speak?
Yes, I was, oh, okay, go ahead, yeah.
So, the salary ordinance, Mr. Pollard, we are to understand that that's for 40-hour work weeks, correct?
All right, well.
No, that's the question. That ordinance is a person working a 40-hour work week, correct?
I'm not sure of that. I'm not necessarily sure. There's part-time employees. There's
So-
people
so,
who,
but-
there's people that get paid by the hour, and it depends on how many hours. So, whether you work a 40-hour week or not, I mean, you're
I'm
talking
talking about
the
working a 60-hour week,
Okay,
not a
but-
40-hour.
Okay, well, Mr. DeSena, that's a totally different question than what I'm talking about here. So let me just finish this.
No, but you're talking
Yeah.
about the salary ordinance, correct? We're saying
No,
the salary.
I'm not talking about the salary ordinance in general. I'm talking about the salary ordinance as it pertains to the assistant director and the director. That's all. I'm
I
not talking
understand
about.
that, but
And I'm
what
not talking. And by the way, I'm not talking about hours worked. I'm not talking about responsibilities. I'm not talking about anything other than hourly rates that occurred in these two situations. The director's number being different than what appeared in the salary ordinance, and the fact that the assistant director does not appear in the salary ordinance, and there was a question of, well, who is he, number one? Where is that position created? And
I buy that.
I'm just saying, and how it was compensated. So this memo and what I'm talking about right now has nothing to do with 40-hour work week, and that's a totally different kind of question. All right.
Well, I'd like to understand how we could have, you look at the salary ordinance, typically all our municipal employees work 35 hours a week, correct? That's the standard quo, Mr. Powell, would you say that's a fair statement? Mr. Tobo, would you say that's a fair statement? Everybody works a 7-hour day, 5 hours a day? 5
Councilman
days?
DeSena, I'm just going to point out that this is not, the attorney's report is on the agenda.
But this goes to the attorney's report.
Actually, it doesn't, because he's discussing the rate per hour and the.
But the rate per hour, if I make somebody work 60 hours,
But your rate per hour is set, regardless of the number of hours that you're working, correct? Yes or no? Yes or no?
no, because the budget
No,
will.
if your hourly rate is set to an hourly rate, that's your hourly rate, and that's what your
But I'm
hourly
entitled
rate
to a
is.
lot more when I go over 35 hours,
But that's
which
not
we
the
didn't give
discussion
Terry.
on the agenda.
And by the way, that's a totally different question under the Fair Labor Standards Act. So that has nothing to do with this report.
But Mr. Pollard, if I work 60 hours at that rate, of course, I'm getting 1.5 times my salary.
But that's not your base rate, is what he is discussing, and is what is in his report.
First of all, there's an hourly rate. There is no, when you say, there is no salary for those positions. Those are pure hourly rates. So I'm saying to
All right.
you.
Well, things are changing the budget.
Well, no, I'm going to tell you right now that as to those two positions, has nothing to do with how many hours the week they work. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, that's an hourly rate, that's how they get paid. Subject to any overtime or something else that they might be entitled to under Fair Labor Standards or other type of a thing. But as far as these two people, they are purely hourly workers. They are not salaried employees. They're not 35-hour-a-week people, such as maybe the clerk or other positions. So that's totally off the mark.
And that is what you're saying under the Fair Labor Act,
Right.
if you have an hourly employee.
So they're exempt from Fair Labor Standards Act.
Well, I'll look under the Fair Labor Standards Act to see if they're covered in terms of should they have received more, but I'll take a look at that. I think that they're seasonal. I think they're probably not covered, but I'll take a look at that.
All right, that's what I'd like to.
That's okay.
And we can put that on next week's.
They can make each one control for next year's budget. Make it a control item.
Yep.
And then there's no way they can exceed a 40-hour, 35-hour work week in which,
Mr. Pollard may have to look into that, because there are New Jersey labor practices that may, with that power, what you're saying, could go against the New Jersey Fair Labor Practices.
you can limit the number of hours an employee works.
Unless.
There's nothing
but
in the
there-
Fair Labor Act that says that. We're
No,
gonna
but
limit
if
you at
something
X.
happens on the job or why they're doing something, then, and they're required to work a certain number of hours, that needs to be addressed, because you're not gonna wanna put the town at risk for a lawsuit.
I don't follow you at all. Not at all. If we know we have a position that requires 35 hours of work.
That's a
okay,
salary, again.
Whatever, whether it's 2 hours or 10 hours, that's what we decide to pay. That's what we decide to pay, whatever it may be. You have to determine what you want that worker to do, in what time frame. You just can't leave it open-ended.
No, I'm not saying open-ended, but I'm saying
Well,
that.
that's what you said.
No, you said put a 40-hour cap. And I said you may have to look at the New Jersey Fair Labor Practices and see. If you cap an employee at 40 hours and something happens, I didn't say,
Like what?
I don't know,
You
a parent,
anticipated.
say it's this and a parent runs late and they call up and they say, I'm stuck on the New Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah.
And there's a car crash and I'm gonna be 45 minutes late.
Right.
And that employee has now worked an hour over the 40 hours. Are you not going to pay them?
Is he at work already, or is he on his way to work?
I'm sorry, I'm
Talking about
misunderstanding.
overtime, just talking about them being there past their 40 hours.
You're not gonna,
Parents late.
What, you're not gonna leave a child standing there because the parent's late? That's what I'm saying.
So it's safe to say there's room for more discussion.
I agree.
Okay.
I'd like, the next one I'd like to take off, we were contacted by other people to discuss this, so I'd like to table number 3.
Terminal leave?
Yes, please, I'd rather not talk about it because
I'm sorry, because of,
we were called by other people to discuss it, so I'd rather not discuss it here.
could you clarify, please, what, called by, since it's on the agenda, what's called by other people?
Just, I don't want to discuss it, that's all, Mrs. Feeney. Table, yeah, can we table it, please?
So for next week?
We had talked about last budget cycle, Mrs. Feeney, the DFMF superintendent being the, having 2 hats. He is the foreman and the superintendent. And I know the mayor was gonna look into separating those 2 hats. So I know it's, after January now, so we were, hopefully, the men would get a true foreman and a true superintendent. Has anything been done with that, Mr. Mayor?
I've had meetings with the director and the acting superintendent, and we are making moves to make the superintendent a permanent position and the promotion of at least one more foreman or one foreman to fill the spot. These are obviously impacted by the budget, so this promotion would be along with the budget.
Okay, I'll buy that. Police contract we received tonight. so-
Okay, so, and you voted on it, right?
What's that?
You voted on it, right?
Yeah, so.
Okay, no, so what I want to bring up is, I want to rescind that for tonight and have another vote for the reason that Mr. Cummings should have recused himself. And I think it kind of slipped by as part of the consent agenda. So, that's all right, no, it's all right. So I think I'd like to have a motion to rescind that resolution and then re-vote and have Mr. Cummings recuse himself.
May I have a motion for a revote with Mr. Councilman?
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Roll call. Okay. Sorry, Sue needs a minute.
Yeah, I do.
Do I recuse myself from this one
Yes.
Yes,
also?
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
You just rescinded.
so we're gonna go Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman
Don't say.
Cumming.
Not here.
No, you can't say you're not here because you're.
Recuse.
Thank you, Ken.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
And Council President Feeney?
Yes.
Okay, we got it.
Okay, so we'll add it to the agenda for the next meeting.
No.
No.
No, vote on,
We
vote,
can vote now?
yes, you're allowed to vote.
I didn't know if we had to announce it.
Now, you're allowed to vote,
Okay.
re-vote on the, on that,
I know.
on the
Wait, let me
contract,
just
on the
get
resolution on the
All
contract.
right, hold on one second. Let me just get that resolution for the contract.
I forgot.
It's like 152, 1.
You know what, I think I wrote it.
152.
Instead of across
Okay.
the.
2150.
152.
Resolution 20152, approval of collective bargaining agreement, PBA Local 206, January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Doesn't it have to have a new number?
Oh, does it have to have a new number?
No, what do we have to?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Okay, sorry.
You know
may
what, if you want to call it 152A,
Okay, so
152A,
here we
let's
go.
call it 152A.
Resolution 20-152A, approval of collective bargaining agreement, PBA Local 206, January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay. Councilman, I don't have it in front of me, that's all one.
Yes.
Yes. Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Recuse.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes.
We did it.
Good.
Instead of across the aisle. My neck, or my daughter. Well done.
Okay. Now it's on.
Little shop tonight in the water.
Okay, the next item, which Mr. Toomey spoke about earlier, and he left. Background checks.
Yep, that,
We're done.
Settled.
Okay.
That's-
yeah, that's all. I wanted to just make sure we were proceeding, that's all.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
May I have a motion to enter into closed session?
There is
no-
no close, no need, nothing tonight.
Okay, good. I mean, yes.
Yes.
I move we adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
May I?
So moved?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't have to recuse from that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.